I'd like to introduce Rabbi Dovid Orlofsky, and the topic tonight is Beyond Apples and Honey.
Thank you. A beautiful introduction. As the Rabbi mentioned, I'm a world-famous speaker. I'm very famous. I have to tell people because no one seems to know. But the definition of a world's famous speaker is a man with no job. So he travels around trying to find, pass around the hat. Is what they used to call Maggid in Europe. Wander from town to town and give their little speech. And of course, as he pointed out, I had to schlep all the way from Yerushalayim, which probably took me almost 35 minutes to get here. I grew up in Long Island. People would commute in the New York area 2 hours to work back and forth. They never think twice about it. But if you live in Yerushalayim and you're going to Tel Aviv, you have to pack food because this is a major journey. You know what I mean? People, I guess because it's such a small country that distances have taken on a whole different feeling towards it. So, but it's a pleasure to be able to come to the exotic location of Modiin. You know what I mean? And which I've passed many times on my way to Tel Aviv. And we're here this evening. And, what brings people out on an evening like this? The most important thing, I think, is that there's absolutely nothing to do in Modiin. But besides that, if we want to move beyond that, go down to the deli, watch the chicken turn. But, there's not a lot to do. Go to the falafel store where you can have all the salads you want. This is one of the highlights of the city. Anyway, someone said to me, I have to take you to Modiin. They take me to this falafel store where you unlimited salads. It was like the greatest opportunity that ever happened. If you don't know where it is, you can ask afterwards. The rabbi wanted to know what we can do for the community. So I'm looking for an American deli. So if you can open that, let me know. But... Israeli cold cuts, everyone knows they put disgusting things in cold cuts, but in America, at least they grind them up first. You know what I mean? In Israel, so help me, twice I got a chicken Frank, it had a feather in it. Twice. I'm telling you. It's like you get a little salami and it's like a hoof, you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing, where you cut it open and there's an eye, and then it winks at you. But anyway, these are some of the things this wonderful couple is only in Israel now 4 weeks, so I want to break them in easy, Absolutely. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to come to Israel. When I moved here 28 years ago, a friend of mine said, I will help you negotiate life in Israel. You can ask me how, you can ask me where, you can ask me when, you can never ask why. Kacha. Kacha zebaretz. Kacha. There is no reason. There is no logic to it, and the rules often change as you're waiting online. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. When I went to get the discount on my house, so I said I had to go to, the Misrad. No, I haven't been there in so long. I forgot the Misrad whatever it was. One of those Misradim, with all those cheerful people working behind the. And I said to the lawyer, do I have to bring my wife? And he says, no, you need a notarized paper. I'm a notarized. I wait online, get there. They were up to number 37. I get 316. You know what I mean? It's all right. I was prepared. I brought food with me. I brought a sleeping bag. I was ready. Several days later, they call my number. And Mr. Panim, how could I forget? Yeah. And I say I came to get my discount on the apartment. And she says, Eifel ishtcha? I said, no, I don't need my wife. The lawyer said, this is all I need. He goes, no, you need your wife. Next. Now, I had been here already 2 years, so I was used to this. I learned this the first time when I went to the bank. Did you open a bank account? In America, when you open a bank account, you go to a special desk. The guy hands you a toaster, you know what I mean? He tells you what kind of checks do you want, what kind of check case do you want, you want mountains, you want rivers, you'll give whatever picture you want, here the guy is sitting there reading the paper, smoking under the no smoking sign, And I said, he goes, he's a lie. He was lying to me. I found out later. He was lying to me. I go downstairs. They send me window. Ends up, it's back to him. So I go back to him. And I'm like third on line, and he's looking at the people, and he says, "Ma torotzeh?" I said, "Ani rotzeh leftoch cheshbon." And he said, "Come in the afternoon." So I had been here already 6 months. So I said, "Ani rotzeh leftoch cheshbon." He says, Beseder. I don't know. That was my first, but with the second bank account I opened, I went there. The same thing. The lady said, I'm not in charge. And she was sending me around. And finally, I stood up in the middle of the bank. I said, Miratzada Kesser Shali! Make sure you that Kesser Shali! So he says, come over here, I'll open up the account. I don't know, in America, they're like happy to take your money. Here, you have to beg them to take your money, They'll do it. But, so it's an adventure, So she says, next. And I said, Biba Rosh. So a woman comes and goes, the Barti Marachtin, who am I? Goes, he's right. He's right, says to her. I almost died right on the spot, So she says, Lama Tatzoik. I said, what are you doing? You want to send me back here? She says, I'm not going to do it. I said, Tasi avodah shalach. She goes, okay. I don't know. It's a different mindset. It's just a different mindset, I figured out what it is, because before Rosh Hashanah, we should only say good things about the Jewish people, You don't want to be one of those saying bad things about the Jewish people before Rosh Hashanah, It's because we're family. It's really true. You pick that up the longer you live here. We're a large dysfunctional family, but we're a family. We all know that, right? A mother's talking on the phone to someone who is not as important as her children. Hi, how are you? Yeah, could you hold on a second? Hold it down! I'm on the phone! Don't let me come over there! Hi, how are you? We take liberties with family, I was driving in a cab. I've been here already 10 years. And he says, what hotel are you in? I said, I need Garpo. I need Aliti La'aretz. He goes, Mata Mishuka? He says, I'm killing myself to get out of here. I'm trying to get a green card. You moved here? What are you, crazy? So I said, what do you mean? The children return to the land. This is my country. I'm waving the flag. He said, but there's so much crime and there's so much trouble and there's so much problems with the economy. I said, yeah, real life is hard. This is real life, So we're driving past. He passes a chassid. He says, you see that guy? He hates my guts. I said, I don't know if he does or he doesn't. I got a brother, he hates my guts. You know what I mean? I said, but I'd give up my life for my brother in a second. And he says to me, and I'd give up my life for him. I said, we are one sick, dysfunctional family. And that's what happens when you come to Israel. I'm not gaining any Hebrew, but I'm losing my English. I find the number one Hebrew word I know is I will say, we take liberties. We take liberties with family. That's really what it is, And you can see it, I was on an egghead bus, something I try to avoid. And I was on an egghead bus, and there's a pregnant woman. She's standing. And the driver stops the bus in the middle. He says, here, take my seat. And so two people jumped up to give her a seat. I mean, where do you see that, The bus stopped in the middle of the road. I was with them, but the bus stopped in the middle of the road. Everyone's going, no, no. And the people in front are saying, shake it. I was like, what's going on? I look out the window. It was a blind man. He stopped the car in front of his house and walked him out of the bus to the curb, So we're family. We're family. It's a different thing. So we're all here. The only problem is that, some of us got used to life in a first world country. You know what I mean? And, it takes a little adaptation. And, we have different words. Chol am v'lashon. We say in the tefillah, chol am v'lashon. It says am, there's lashon, there's goy. What are these things? A goy is a racial description. The Chinese, the Slavs, it's a racial description. An am is a political reality. But a lashon is a culture. And we all have a culture. We have a shared culture. And so, you say things in the mama lashon, it's different, So you're able to bring things across in a different way. So that's why we're here this evening as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah. Because there's an interesting phenomena. Yeah, there's a pasuk in the Torah. It says like this. It says about the land of Israel that God watches it. Meireshit hashana ad achri shana. From the beginning of the year to the end of a year. What's the difference? So it's been said, because every year we think it's going to be the year, and it just turns out to be a year. And unfortunately, years go by, and they're the same year over and over again, and we make the same mistakes, and we have a certain idea of where we want to go in life, and we don't really accomplish it. So the question is, how do we go to make this year, 5777, the year, the most important year of our life? You know, there was a very powerful film called Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray, where he is a weather reporter, and he has the worst day of his life. He's in Pasquaney, Pennsylvania for Groundhog's Day, and it's just the worst day of his life. Anything goes wrong. And he wakes up the next day, and it's the same day. And this goes on, according to an estimate that I saw on Wikipedia, so it must be authentic. Yeah. According to the calculations this person made, it went on for 40 years. And he woke up every day, and it was the same miserable day of his life. He tried killing himself. He wakes up, and he's back again. You know, he tried everything. It doesn't make a difference. When he wakes up in the morning, it's the same day. It didn't make a difference what he did. Yeah? So he slowly begins to embrace the day. This is the only day he has. And he starts to learn how to make the most out of this day until at the end he says, this was the best day of my life. And then he wakes up and it's tomorrow. Because that's the ultimate challenge. We don't realize it, but we end up living the same day over and over again. The same week, the same month, the same year. You know? And we want it to be a different year. Yeah? We want it to be something new, something distinct. The nations of the world are compared to the sun, the Medrash Rabbah says. Yeah? And the Jews are compared to the moon. That's why our holidays are based on the moon. The sun doesn't change. Right? The sun is always shining. Yeah? The moon waxes and wanes. It's always changing. And that's why the unit of time that we have is called a chodesh. Chodesh is from chadash. It's new. Yeah? It's always new. Shana means to repeat. Our Shana is just made up of 12 months. That's why it's 354 days. In a leap year, we add another month, and there's 13 months. But we never have a year of 365 days. We're always telling time by months because we want it to be new. Those are the challenges. So I would like to give you some helpful advice that I have acquired over the years of how to try to maximize things. Yeah? I am always impressed by inspirational rabbis, like our rabbi here, you know, whose life is just a lesson to be learned, and his love and his commitment. I'm not one of those kind of rabbis. Yeah, I give a shiur in my neighborhood every other Saturday night, and people have been coming for years, and they say, I love coming to your shiurim because you're so ordinary that I feel like if you could do it, anyone could. You know? And I was inspired by that because I know exactly what they mean. 100%, you know? I am definitely a work in progress. So I share with you just helpful advice. That's why when I hear these like, you know, big tzaddikim speaking, wonderful people, I can't relate to it because I'm just a very average person, you know, capable of very average things. And so I want to share for the average person who may be here, you know, for the exceptional people, you have to speak to Rabbi afterwards, but, you know, for us average folk, you know, some insight. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Yeah? Most people hate Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I spoke to a yeshiva boy once who said to me, I would like to go to sleep Erev Rosh Chodesh Elul and wake up after Yom Kippur. Yeah? This is not a particularly happy, joyous time. It should be, but we know it's not. I grew up, my family really only went to synagogue on the high holidays. And, you know, so I had to put on a suit, and they would drag me there. And those of you who enjoy chazanas, I have nothing but the greatest respect for you. I think that's great. They have chazanan concerts and stuff. I think that's beautiful. My father used to make us listen to chazanas records. You know, we went to shul, we had a chazan, and I was a little kid, and he'd be up front going, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd be moving my foot from one side to the other. I was like, oh gosh, how much more of this can I take? You know what I mean? Think I can go to the bathroom again? The last time my dad sent someone to find me, you know what I mean? I used to sit there and count the pages. 800 pages, I'm never going to make it, you know? And then I realized half of them are in English. It's only 400 pages. We'll be out of here in no time. Let me see, he just spent 15 minutes on this word. I don't think we go home till Hanukkah, you know? But the idea was that if you could stay in shul long enough and listen to the cantor, God felt so bad for you, he forgave all your sins. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go to hell, you've already been there. You know what I'm saying? You know? But then you get older and you start following along, and then it gets much worse. Then it's really bad. My father would always say, "Where's the place?" And I never knew where the place was, you know, because every cantor has this trick where they spend 15 minutes in the word, then they go, "Mana, mana, 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 mana," and you're flipping page. Say this on alternate Tuesdays. I don't even know what that means. You know, like you're flipping. We had a page counter, but it always came out around the World Series, so they put up the score, you know. For those of you who are not American, let me explain what this means. The entire world plays soccer. They have the World Cup, and the whole world closes down for the World Cup. Everywhere except America. America has one American baseball team play another American baseball team, and we call it the World Series. You understand? Like, you know? So they would put up the score, and so my father says, follow along. The Sanatokov, this is very important. And the Chazan would begin. Mi yichyeh, O mi yamus. Now, there was a subtle message there. I don't know if you picked that. The beauty of Chazon is to be able to bring across ideas with music, and I knew what he was saying. Someone might live, but you're gonna die. And the choir goes, die, 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 die. I was a teenager. I was like, I'm gonna die? Oh man, what a bummer. But it's not over yet. Now you get to pick the way you're gonna go. Understand? Who by fire and who by water? I could probably tread water for a while. Who by storm and who by sword? I saw the Wizard of Oz. Storm's not so bad, you know. Who by earthquake and who by pestilence? I don't know, what is pestilence? Never heard of. We'll take the pestilence, Bob, you know. But the message is pretty clear that you're going to die a horrible death because God hates you, you're a miserable sinner, unless you repent. Repent! Get down on your hands and knees and beg and cry, and then you could get off with just a serious illness. So everyone walks around depressed the whole holidays. Dad, what's with the apple and honey? For a sweet year. How does it look? Doesn't look too good. I grew up in a mostly non-Jewish neighborhood, and in the middle of the week was Yom Kippur. I'm wearing a suit, so he's seen me gone on Saturday, you know. He says, Dave, where you going? I said, oh, it's a special holiday today. I have to go to synagogue and afflict myself. Why? Because I'm evil. Oh, all right. Will I see you tomorrow? No idea. Any word on the pestilence? Oh, man, should have taken an earthquake. What was I thinking? That's about it. Now, when you consider that most Jews only go to synagogue on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, are you surprised that there's such a high assimilation rate? You know what I'm saying? This is just not a joyous time of year. Hence, it's something for us to get through. People are going out of a profound sense of guilt, and we build on that. You know what I mean? And so we walk in, and it's just, you know, just too heavy. It's just too heavy. Some people react to that. I don't. It has never worked for me. You know, the whole hellfire thing just doesn't go for me, you know? I was in Phoenix, if you want to go to hell. It was 120 degrees. People drive with oven mitts because you can't hold the thing. And I said to them, why are you here? They go, well, it's a dry heat. I said, oh, then I don't mind going to hell as long as it's not humid. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's a dry heat, you know, what's the big deal, you know? Absolutely amazing. People live, it's just about, I was in Minneapolis. In the winter, it gets to 40 degrees below zero. You know? So I came in May. A beautiful day in the 70s, and they said, oh, you should move here. It's like this every day. Yeah, suckers. Anyway, but, you know, I grew up in New York. I had friends who lived in Chicago. Somebody once observed, there were people who said, we like New York. We like the dirt. We like the noise. We like the crime. It's just not cold enough. Let's move to Chicago. You know what I mean? So every place has a certain, you know, has a certain problem with it, has a certain, you know, drawback to it, you know. But, you know, how does a person figure out, you know, how to maximize these opportunities? So I want to start at the beginning. There's only about a week left to the month of Elul. Now, the work that we have to do in Elul is 30 days. It's 30 days of Elul, 29 days of Elul, yeah? So we only have a week left, so we're going to have to work fast. What is the main thing we have to do on Elul? I have seen people write, we have to do repentance, we have to do a review, we have to do this, all kinds of different things. Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Sher, who is Yeshiva Slobodka, if you're looking for a beautiful sefer on the parasha, And, I remember I used to go speak in Efrat from time to time. And someone said to me, I always enjoyed your speeches, but the best gift you gave me was Leket Sichos Musa by Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Sher. He says, you're right. Every single one of his pieces that he writes is just meaningful and just touches your soul. He's very positive, and I react better to positivism. So he says, what is the main thing we have to do during Elul? Elul is an abbreviation for 4 words in Shir HaShirim, which we've heard this 100 times. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. That's what I'm supposed to be focusing on in Elul. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Because I'm going to go in on Rosh Hashanah to a judge who sees everything and knows everything, is going to judge me for life and death, and I think he doesn't like me? Well, then just shoot me now. What am I wasting my time for? The guy doesn't like me? So I tell a story about a guy before Rosh Hashanah. He's got a big smile on his face. He said, what are you so happy about? He says, it's almost Rosh Hashanah. He says, yeah, you're going to be judged. He says, yeah, but the judge is my dad, and he loves me and only looking for the good for me, So I need a month to incorporate this message because unfortunately God gets a lot of bad press, and he always has. And I've seen it myself. I spoke to a guy, here in Israel we have all kinds of different yeshivas, so there was a yeshiva for, the religiously and emotionally challenged. And I was talking to a guy, there was second year, so he was more or less sober. And I said, so what happens when you die? He goes, you go to Olam Haba. I said, what's that like? He says, it's a beach and a cold beer. And he continued developing the picture. I'm sure you can work it out for yourself. Suffice it to say, it was closer to the Muslim conception than the Jewish one. I can't say that joke everywhere anymore. I said, is that what you believe Olam Haba is? He says, no, I wish. I said, what is it really? He says, you sit on a cloud and you play a harp. I said, do you like harp music? He says, not particularly. He says, so what are you going to do? He says, I'll get an electric harp, Put my halo on sideways. Rocking on cloud 9. I said, so if you're good, you got a cloud and a harp. And if you're bad, then God burns you in hell forever. I said, you comfortable with that? He says, yeah. I said, it's like a father says to his daughter, sweetheart, your room is a mess. If you clean it up, I'll buy you a new outfit and take you out for dinner. And if you don't, I'll break your arm and beat you till you're bloody. I said, what would you do? He says, I'd call social services. The man is insane. I said, but that's how you picture God. If you're good, you get a cloud and a harp. And if you're bad, you burn in hell? Our dysfunctional Father who art in heaven? So people are always like, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I think one of the great theological works of all time, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they really address this point where God appears to King Arthur and he's turning away. And God says, what are you doing? He says, averting my eyes. Well, don't. Every time I talk to somebody, it's forgive me this and I'm not worthy. Look at me when I'm talking to you. It sounds a little strange, but that's exactly what the Medrash says that God said to Moshe at the burning bush when he turned away. You understand? Look at me when I'm talking to you. What is this? What is this concept of fear? Someone said to me once, I picture God on a mountain with a lightning bolt. I said, that's Zeus. I said, you're not even up to monotheism yet. You know what I mean? You're with the gods on Mount Olympus. There was this once, it must be about 25 years ago, somebody took out these billboards. They were signed by God. I don't think God actually took them out. I think someone did it in his name. They were white with black writing. I wrote a book. Why don't you read it? God, Which part of thou shalt not don't you get? God. Stuff like this. There was one that made a deep impression on me. It says, but I believe in you. Yeah? I believe in you. What are you worried about? You believe in God. God says, I believe in you. I have heard more than once from people who said to me, I feel like God doesn't care whether I'm in this world or not. And I said, make no mistake about it. If he didn't want you here, he has no shortage of ways of getting rid of you. If you are still here, it's because he believes you have something to do in this world. He believes in you. He's rooting for you. He wants to see you succeed. I want to turn Rosh Hashanah on its head for a minute. Why do we have a Yom Adin? Why do we have a Day of Judgment? This is such an important point. We go into Yom Kippur. And lanu melitz yosha. We have nobody to speak for us. I'm a kli mali boishes. I'm nothing. I'm nobody. All this kind of depressing stuff, right? So let's just go in, throw ourselves in the mercy of the court, and get a pardon. You know what I mean? So why do I have a Day of Judgment first? It says because even though you haven't done everything right, it doesn't mean you haven't done anything right. First, God wants to pay you for what you deserve, that you've done good. That's what Rosh Hashanah is about. That's why this is a day of judgment, because some things you have earned, some things you do deserve. Let's be honest, right? If we're here this evening, probably we are not native Israeli, which means we grew up in a country where we had a sense of entitlement. I sure did. Yeah? My grandfather came from Węgrzech, Poland. If you ever want to visit, it's a wonderful town. Yeah? He came to America. He was an immigrant. He never learned English. He spoke Yiddish. He worked in the garment business. My dad had to grow up on the streets. He had to teach himself. He dropped out of schools during the Depression to support his, help his family out. He got married, built a business, built it all up. And I was born an American, fully entitled. I go to the embassy. I said, yep, I'm walking right in the door. There's my people. I have all the rights and privileges. I know they'll send in the Marines and rescue me if there's a problem. Well, they used to before Obama, but whatever, it depends who gets elected, If it's Clinton, I'm really in trouble. But, they'll send in, they'll come for you, it's a certain right. Then I moved here. I became my grandfather again. You know what I mean? It's like, there's this great word in Israel called protexia. It's such a beautiful word. It sounds better than corruption, which is what it really is. It's like there's a medical system, so you get to wait online, and you have to wait online to have an operation, unless your mother is friendly with the secretary, then she calls her up, and they move you to the front of the line. So in America, they have a term for that. It's called, you go to jail. You understand? Here we call it protexia. It's such a nicer word. You know what I mean? It sounds so good. So, it's tough. You start to, my kids have to do what my father did and have to find their own way, And they're always saying to me, Abba, you don't get it. Abba, you don't get it. And it's true, I don't get it, And it's just such a different world. The fact that we're here means that we made a tremendous decision in our life not to take the easy road, but to take the more meaningful one. So that means that when we walk into Rosh Hashanah, just the fact of that decision alone is an unbelievable statement that I walk into God on Rosh Hashanah and say, hey, if I wanted it easy, I could have gone back home. I'm here because I care. I've decided to seal my fate with the future of the Jewish people. I mean, look at the sacrifices I'm making. You know what I mean? Isn't that worth something? And the answer is yes, it's worth an unbelievable amount. But for some reason, we always minimize all of our accomplishments. That's nothing. It's not true. Rosh Hashanah is a day of celebration of our successes. Yom Kippur is about where our shortcomings are, but not Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Hadin. God wants to pay you for what you deserve, that you've done good. Anila Dovid Dodili. God cares about us. God is rooting for us. God wants to see us succeed. Yes, does he give us tests? Does he give us challenges? Of course he does. That's only because he believes in you. If he didn't believe in you, he wouldn't. You study for a test, and you really know the test. As you can tell, I usually teach students. You really know your material, right? And you walk in, everyone's getting the test. They're going, oh my gosh, they're looking at the papers. It's like, wow. They're all sitting down, and you're a little nervous, but you're somewhat confident, and they hand you a blank piece of paper. And you look at it, and you go to the teacher. You say, this is a blank piece of paper. She says, don't worry. The fix is in, you have an A+. He says, no, but I know the material. I want to take the test. He says, that's cute. Just sit down quietly. Maybe draw a picture, and we'll hang it up. But let the people who are taking the test, take the test. But I can do it. I'm capable. So God gives you challenges only because he believes in you. If he didn't believe in you, he wouldn't give you anything. Somebody said to me, God will forgive me, right? God will forgive me. I said, yes. As long as you can convince him that you're so incompetent that you're not capable of anything. So then a 1-year-old pulls all the stuff out of the closet and dumps everything and breaks a bottle of wine and etc. So what are you going to do? Yell at the kid? He doesn't know what he's doing. So you take him and you clean him up and you clean up the mess and you sigh and you go on. You don't expect anything from them. But when a person is an adult, you expect things from them. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects things from us because he believes in you. That's what we're supposed to be doing during Elul. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. God loves me. So we only have a week left to focus on this and to change around the way. I do this often. I'll say to people, do you think God loves you? So people know already you're supposed to say yes. Yes. I know already the answer. Yes. I said, do you think God likes you? That's a little tougher. I said, do you think God is impressed with you? I think he looks down at you and he's like, that's so hard for anybody to say. Because we've heard he's angry with us, he's disappointed with us, he'll wait to our last day, and if we don't repent, then he'll throw us into the pit of hell out of deep love. You know what I mean? But, but that he's impressed with us? Trust me, he's impressed with the people in this room. Trust me, the decisions that you have made puts you above into the top percentile of Jews in the world who've decided to make decisions not based on what's easiest, but on what's most meaningful. Come on, you've had people come and visit you here. Not you, only here for a week, but you have people coming. I had a 2-family house in Far Rockaway with a deck, and a backyard and a basement. And I took all that money and I sold it, and I bought myself a 3-bedroom apartment in Har Nof, And people come and they go, the apartments here are so small. And I said, yes, they are. It's true. And it's so dusty. Why is it so dusty here? I said, I'm sorry, the place was abandoned for 2,000 years. The lady only comes in twice a week. So. She hasn't gotten to everything yet, And they point out a few other things, and then they say, then why do you live here? I said, because those aren't the main ideas in my life. That's not what's motivating me to make my decisions. My decisions are to look for meaning rather than for comfort, So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I just did that before I came. And it's a lot more appealing than you might imagine. Anyway, but okay, that's what we have to do in Elul. God loves us and believes in us and is impressed with us. I cannot stress that enough. If you don't appreciate it, we all know about the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. So we picture him as like a little devil, an little angel trying to tell you that. He's much subtler than that. The Yetzer Hara doesn't want to get you to do bad things. He wants you to believe that what you do is not important. It doesn't count. Let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that when you say a prayer, you save someone's life? Come on. We live here in Israel. We see it all the time. How many terrorist attacks there have been stopped? I remember during the Second Intifada, I forgot who the Minister of Interior Security was at the time, but he was being questioned by the Knesset. He wasn't a religious man. He says, how do you explain so many terrorist attacks and so few casualties? And he said, Avinu shebashamayim. There's no explanation. A Hamas guy was on CNN. And he says, how come you're shooting all these missiles into Israel and you're not hitting any? Because I don't know. When we shoot in practice, we always hit the target. It's only when we shoot into Israel that we miss. A missile fell in Eilat. Shetach patuach. You know what the Shetach Patuach was? It was a parking lot in between 2 hotels. That was a Shetach Patuach. A missile fell in Bnei Brak, and a Shetach Patuach. And every Kabbalah went running because they didn't know there was a Shetach Patuach in Bnei Brak. My son used to say to me, what do you find in between 2 buildings in Bnei Brak? Another building. You know what I mean? Shetach Patuach. You know what I mean? So why is that? That's because the people in this room pick up a Sefer Tehillim and say a Kapitel Tehillim. It's because we say a Tefillah. You don't understand the power that you have. You can heal the sick. When somebody's sick, we're told to daven for them. But you don't believe that you're going to heal them. But you heal the sick. You give children to the childless. You give a shidduch to people who are looking to get married. You give a parnosa to a guy who can't make a living. But the Yetzer Hara wants to convince you that what you do is not important. I remember when I went to Chavetz Chaim, Rabbi Moshe Chait, he said that he went to the zoo, grew up in Philadelphia, and the lion roared. He was a little kid, he got scared, and he said to the zookeeper, can he break out of that cage? He says, yes, but don't worry, he doesn't know it. And he looked at us and said, that's every one of us. We don't know what we can do. We don't believe we're capable of it, because if we did, not only would we daven a lot more, we'd give people brachas. I give people brachas all the time, because how do I know? Maybe my bracha is the one that's going to be Mekuyim. God's keeping me around for something. I'm doing something in this world. So when you give somebody a bracha, when you daven for somebody, you change the whole world. You change people's lives. You just don't believe it. And that's what the Yetzer Hara wants you to do. He wants you to believe you're not important. We blow the shofar 100 times on Rosh Hashanah. What's the purpose of the last one? So it's brought down. The last one is to confuse the Satan. La'arav is a Satan. Because when he hears that last shofar blow, he thinks it's the shofar of Mashiach. Ask Rav Henoch Leibowitz, the Rashiv of Chavetz Chaim. 2,000 years and he's falling for the same trick. Let him buy a machzor. He'll know this is what we always do. He says, the Satan isn't stupid, we are. Because we don't know how close we are at that moment to making it the shofar of Mashiach. We just don't believe it. And one day we're going to wake up and realize what we're capable of, and we'll do great things. Yeah? We're already doing great things. We just don't see it. And the Yetzer Hara won't let us believe it. So that's our avoda in Elul for the week that we have left. That God really believes in us. Right? Okay. Now we need a plan. Now we need a plan, action plan. A friend of mine who's in business, and when we meet, about him and his children and his wife, his marriage, and whenever we finish talking, he goes, okay, action plan. Let's write it down. What are we going to do? Let's have a plan. Let's have a recovery plan. Yeah? What are we going to do? So I want to give you the plan by Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, something for you to do sometime over the next week before Rosh Hashanah. 4 things he gives that you need to do that will change your life. I have done this, and so I know it's true. Yeah? If you ever read Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, so you know that he finds this book from an Icelandic scholar where he says if you go to this particular place at a particular time and you walk into this cavern in this mountain and you follow it through, you'll reach the center of the earth. That's not what caused them to begin the journey. It's the last 3 words. I did it. So I have done this myself. I've given this advice to other people who told me they do it, and it actually is a way to affect change. So let's talk about the 4 things that he mentions. Step number 1. Who do you want to be at the end of your life? This is such an important idea. Such an important idea. Who do you want to be at the end of your life? Stephen Covey in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People writes that a business has what's called a mission statement. Yeah. I have to keep my focus on business. Yeah. He says he was once giving a lecture in a hotel, and there was somebody up on a ladder cleaning a window, and I said to him, how do I get to room whatever it is? He says, I'll show you. And he comes down from the ladder, and he walks me to the room. I was shocked, And I said to one of the people there, I said, do you have any dry markers? He says, I'm going to bring them to you. He goes to the desk, and he brings me the dry markers. And this was happening over and over again. So when I was leaving, I said to the manager, I said, this is really unusual service that I'm receiving. So he says, we have a mission statement. We sat down with the entire staff, the management, the housekeeping, the bellboys, everybody, and we said, let's decide how we're going to be successful as a hotel. And they said, the most important thing is service. The customers come first. And everyone knows no matter what you're doing, you stop it to service a customer. That's the mission statement. So if you're not sure now, should I climb down the ladder or not, I turn to the mission statement. He says, you need a mission statement in life. And he says, gives a piece of advice. How do you figure that out? Write your eulogy. Who do you want to be at the end of your life? And it's a pretty scary idea, right? To tell you the truth. Because we don't really plan our life to the end of our life. Yeah? When I was growing up, so you saw somebody who was 70 and they were old. They were working with a cane. That's why the retirement age used to be 65, because you figure in about 5 years you'll be dead anyway, so it won't be so bad. And when you were 70, you were like ancient. You almost never saw somebody who was 80. Today you see people in their 80s, they're playing tennis, and you see people in their 90s. I never saw people in their 90s. Which means that just the way the world is going, we'll probably live to at least 100, without any miracles. Just the way things are going, because you meet people in their 90s all the time. How do we plan our lives? Go to university, get a profession, make money, go to, get married, have a house, a couple kids. 40, 45, and I'm done. What do I do now? Get old and die. There's nothing else for us to do. We're finished, Some people play twice. They get another wife, they get another job, another house, go around the board 2 times, Most people aren't that dramatic. They just suddenly realize that they've finished everything and they have a midlife crisis. Have you seen people have midlife crises? It's not pretty. You can see them out on the dance floor, barely alive, barely alive. They buy themselves a sports car, but they can't get into it because they're not too flexible. It's like, it's a little sad, Eventually they give it up, start wearing their trousers up to here, get the orthopedic sneakers, take about 3 minutes to sit down, and fall asleep all the time, watching TV, reading the paper in the middle of a conversation, and they always deny it. No, I wasn't sleeping. I wish I could. I'm up all night. That's it. Why? Because I don't know where I'm going. Do I plan my life to 90 to 100? Let's tell the truth. Have you gone to a funeral where they tell the truth? Isn't that the most depressing thing? Harry loves cigars. Am I right? You always saw Harry with a cigar. Yeah, and a glass of scotch. I never saw him that happy. You could see him sitting there with a newspaper, a glass of scotch, and a cigar, and Harry's thinking, it's got to be something else. Think of something else, Those of you who sat shiva, so you know the routine. I'm one of 6 boys, of whom I'm the quietest. So, give you an idea. So 4 of them sat upstairs. There wasn't enough room for all of us, and I had a different crowd coming than my brothers. They all lived in one neighborhood. I sat downstairs, and a brother who lived in New Jersey, he also sat downstairs. And we had different crowds. And in the shiva house, you hear a lot of the same stories. And when there was a break in the action, my brother said to me, most of what you do in your life, nobody remembers after you're dead. Dad ran a florist shop for 50 years, and no one came to speak about that. They came to talk about this act of chesed, or this act of kindness, or this act of tzedakah. And I said, you're right. And the difference between a meaningful life and a meaningless life is making most of your life those moments that you look back on and say, that was meaningful. So who do I want to be? You have to dream dreams. They steal our dreams when we're young. People, when they're young, we have that fiery enthusiasm. Sometimes I have these kids go off to Israel, and they flip out, and they come back home and their parents are in a panic. Oh no, he's become a fanatic, what's going to happen to him? And I assure the parents, don't worry, it's just a phase. Eventually, he won't care about anything, just like you. And they say, Baruch Hashem. You have dreams. Gosh, if you're left over from the 60s, yeah? So you remember Cat Stevens, had a song, Father and Son, and the father sings to the son, it's not time to make a change. Settle down, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to learn. Get a job, find a girl. If you want, you will marry. You will still be here tomorrow, but your dreams may not. That used to make our blood boil. How can I try to explain? Anyway, yeah, that part's not important, but I love doing my Cat Stevens. I tried to find an excuse to do my what's his name, Bob Dylan, but that's harder to work in. But you'll be here tomorrow, but your dreams will not. Dream dreams. Gosh, we're not that old yet. There's so many great things we can do in this world, and we just don't even appreciate it. Could you imagine writing down I want to write down at the end of my life, I lived a truly meaningful life, I inspired people, I did great things, I this. Now, I always loved these speeches before Rosh Hashanah. When I was a kid, they would bring in this guy, to come and speak. He was backpacking through India, and he fell off a mountain, 3 miles, and he landed, and he broke every bone in his body, and they amputated his arms and legs, and then he found religion, and then his arms and legs grew back, and today he's a Rosh Hashiva, and he's sitting there, I'm like, I can't relate to this stuff, because I'm, like I told you, I'm very average. This kind of things don't mean anything to me. I said, I'll tell you what moves me. I spoke about this once, and I had a woman come over to me and say, I want to change the world. Now, I knew this woman. She really had her hands full. She had 3 little kids. She had enough time taking care of her house. And I said, listen, the Jewish people are as strong as its weakest home. Take care of your home. Take care of your kids. It's the best you can do. This. No, I want to change the world. I said, we change the world one family at a time, one home, your children, No, I want to change. I said, okay, what's your degree in? I never went to college. Well, what have you worked at? I never worked. What do you do that's special? I bake. Okay, let's think about this. Tomorrow we'll meet to figure out how we're going to bake the world into a better place. Yeah, I had no idea what to tell her. She calls me because I figured it out. I said, oh, Baruch Hashem. Yeah? So I make great cupcakes, like really great cupcakes. You know how there's cake in this country, they call it a tort, and it's like dry and soggy at the same time and tastes like rum. I don't know how they do that. But she makes those like real cupcakes with like really, good and this real filling. Frosting in this country is usually just margarine with sugar in it, Somehow she makes this great frosting, She makes great cupcakes. Everyone says a cupcake is great. There's a school for special children in my neighborhood. There's 50 kids. And I told them every Rosh Chodesh I'm going to make 50 cupcakes. Yeah? So I said, okay. She calls me after Rosh Chodesh. She's flying. She says, the Menahel said, you don't know what you did. These are kids who don't see very well, and they don't hear very well, and they don't move very well. The one thing that works well for all of them is their sense of taste. And you just made a lot of children very happy. And I thought, that's beautiful. I see her a few months later. I said, how's it going? She says, I'm setting up a website. I said, okay, I'm not that technically savvy, but you bake cupcakes. Why do you need a website? You understand? You can't email them yet. You understand? So maybe with the 3D printers, but, I don't know what's... She says, you don't understand. By the third month, I started getting calls from schools all around Jerusalem saying, could you make a homemade treat for our kids too? So she says, I can't make 1,000 cupcakes, but I have neighbors who also know how to bake. This one said, I have too much on my head. I'll do it once a year. I'll do it twice a year. I'll do it every other month. So I'm coordinating the women with the schools to make sure that they're all covered. I was so humbled by this because here is just an average person who wanted to do nothing other than try to make the world a better place, without any special talents or special abilities. And because of her, there's 1,000 kids whose lives are very hard that's been made a little sweeter. I told this story over in Beit Shemesh. 2 years later, I get a call from a woman, would you like to come and speak for Tzedakah? I said, for money, I'll do anything. So she says, very important that you come. I said, why? She says, because I was at that shir that you gave where you mentioned the cupcake story, and I said, I can also do something. She started an organization in Beit Shemesh called Likrat Kala, where there are women, where there are girls who get married from dirt poverty. They have nothing, mamish nothing. It's okay, so people collect money to help them make a wedding, etc. He goes, but you need dish towels, you need linens, you need bedding, you need pots and pans. Where are they getting money for that? So she raised money, she stocks a warehouse, she checks out the people to see if they're legit, and they go shopping. And they outfit their entire apartment in this place. Over 1,000 collars have been taken care of by this woman. And it's all because of me. And I want to take full credit for that. And I hope everyone here goes out and does great things because I'm taking credit for it. Make a mission statement. Who do I want to be at the end of my life? My gosh, we could do. And I have to tell you, I bring dramatic, even these are dramatic examples. I'll give you a different example. My wife is a gifted listener. There are people who have problems who call up my wife. She's not a professional, She has a degree in psychology from Queens College, but that in a token will get you on the subway. You know what I mean? But as my father used to say, but she knows how to talk to people, and they hang up the phone and feel better. There are certain people who they're just tremendously organized people. They can come into your house and just set everything up. When you have a baby, they run in, they take care of everything. They know how to do things. Every one of us have gifts that we can use to make the world a different place. It's just we don't appreciate the great things that we can do. So figure out who you want to be at the end of your life and dream dreams. Now, step 2 is the hardest step. Take on something small for the next year. In Hebrew, we call them Kabbalahs. In the big bad world, we call them New Year resolutions. Right? People write up a list of New Year resolutions. Comes the next year, they write the same list. Comes the next year, they write the same list. And every year they write, after a while they just photograph it, because photostat, it doesn't pay. It's just the same list because I never really change anything. And here's why. It's very obvious why. I know it myself. There are 3 things in your life. Things that you could change easily, without any effort. Things that you could change with effort, and things that you just can't change right now. You just can't, based on who you are. At this point in your life, there are certain things that are just insurmountable. And whenever anybody chooses resolutions, they choose from category 3. Over and over again. And they're going to fail. They have to fail because they can't do it. So what do? They take it on, they really try, they fail, and they reinforce the notion in themselves that they can't change. You should take on one resolution, if you need be, no more than 3. If people just, they're just in a, moment of ecstasy, you want there, no more than 3, absolutely. And they have to be things that are so easy that you'll look at it and say, that's nothing. Rosh Shach was the Rosh Shiva of Panovich. He was a pretty religious guy. He was already older in life, and he took on for the coming year that he would bench from a bencher and not by heart on Shabbos. That was it. That was his Kabbalah for the next year. I just heard a story. They put out this book about this Rabbi Hoffman, and he says he made up his list of Kabbalahs for the next year, and he brought it to Yitzhak Isaac's share, and he looked at it and he says, did you ever test yourself for a couple of months to see if you could do this? He says, no, they're my Kabbalahs for the next year. He ripped it up. He goes, you can't take on something you've never tried. Who says you can do it? It's got to be something that's so easy. People ask me for examples. I can't give examples for everybody, but I'll give you the type of thing. Certain people just cannot handle Kriya Shema Lamita. They just can't. It's too hard for them. Can you just say the first paragraph of Shema before you go to sleep? That's it. Can you put a stucker box next to your bed before you go to sleep, or when you wake up in the morning, put in one coin? That's it. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Things that you look at and you say, that's nothing. Exactly. So you know what will happen? You'll change. And then at the end of the year, you'll turn around and say, look, I actually did something. As opposed to taking on something tremendous, right? There are people who say, I know it's a terrible thing to speak Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara is speaking bad about other people. We know it's a terrible thing. We know there are people who speak Lashon Hara, and we know who they are. And I'm prepared to name names, okay? So I was trying to explain why people speak Lashon Hara, what kind of people, what's motivating them. And I said to an audience once, I said, and you know who speak Lashon Hara? I mean, like, what kind of person? They go, who? I don't think we're getting the idea here. I said, see, the person, I'm never going to speak Lashon Hara again. That's ridiculous. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn the 2 halachas in Sefer Chavetz Chaim every day. That's it, 2 halachas. And that with the commentaries on the bottom. And you can get it in English, whatever it is. And just those 2, that's it. That's all I'm going to do. Or people say I'm going to take on 2 hours. 2 hours during the day when I'm not going to speak. Right? From 3 to 5 in the morning. I said that joke for teenagers and they're like, but that's prime time. And I want to tell you something great. I saw a woman who did this. She took it on, and she says, I got a great story to tell you. I'll call you back at 5 o'clock. That's great. I don't care. That's great. Because it means for 2 hours out of the day, I'm developing a sense of consciousness. That's it. We beat up on ourselves, and we say, that's not enough. That's not enough. Of course it is. Every little step. Right? It's a Chinese proverb, although you hear Jews quote it all the time. Every great journey begins with one step. Or as Bilbo Baggins put it so well to his nephew Frodo, be careful when you step out of your front door, because the road that goes through the Shire leads you to the Lonely Mountain. How true. In any event, so it's something small, right? Okay. Step number 3, write down something slightly more challenging for the Seres Mei Tshuva, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. It's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that this is a minhag among the Jewish people, that we take on something extra during this time. What are we doing? We're fooling God. He doesn't know we're going to ditch this right after Yom Kippur. We're doing one nice thing. You know what I mean? So, okay. So I'll tell you what I think the reason is. Now, you understand, I have 8 daughters, so I know of what I speak. Yeah, when there's a simcha in the family, for me, it's a personal tragedy. Because my girls cannot find outfits in any one country or continent in the world. They are searching the internet for the perfect outfit. One of them once showed me a cartoon where this teenager is buying an outfit. He says, if my parents like it, can I return it? You know what I mean? So they're like, Now, guys, when we go to a wedding, what do? We change our shoes sometimes, but that's like a major fashion statement. That's about as far as we're going to go. Women bring in a team of crack professionals to put them together. One does the hair, one does the nails, one does the makeup. You know what I mean? Somebody is sewing them into a ridiculously tight dress that they cannot exhale. You know what I mean? But they know this is all worthwhile because when they get to the hall, they'll get to take that picture with the flower. You know the picture? Sure you do, yeah? No, but what does that do? Okay, so we get home, we cut ourselves out of the dress, we take off all the makeup, And a few months later, you have resumed your normal position. You're wearing like a ratty robe, fuzzy slippers, possibly in the shape of an animal, You got no makeup, you're carrying around like an industrial strength cup of coffee. You got the shuffle, And you pass by the mantelpiece and you look at that picture. and you say, I can't believe I ever looked that good. But you know what? You always look that good. You just don't take the time to put yourself together all the time. During the first week of the year, because you take off 2 days Rosh Hashanah and you take off Yom Kippur, you're left with a week. The first week of the year, we try to live it a little bit more. Not because I can maintain it. Right? Those of you who say slichos in the morning, so you know. Right? You end up starting much earlier than you would during the week. So one year my wife said to me, oh, this is great. If you get up earlier every day of the year, you'll have more time. I said, I could do that, but I will die. You understand? The only reason I get through slichos is I don't even drink coffee. I have a caffeine drip that I put in. And I carry it with me through the day, you know? I push myself during that week more than I usually can. I live life a little bit more. I think it's ironic, actually. You know, God used to have such a profound sense of humor. Unfortunately, Yair Lapid doesn't. So it used to be that in Israel, we used to change the clock before Yom Kippur. So he changed that. That was so funny. Because we go in Rosh Hashanah and we go, Zachreinu lechayim, elechofetz b'chayim, v'chosveinu b'sefer ha'chayim. I'm still available for the holidays. In any event, God, remember us for life. Grant us life. Write us in the book of life. We want to live. So God says, okay, poof, an extra hour of life. And I say, oh, good, I get to sleep later. He says, for that, I don't have to give you life. You could be dead and do that. You know what I mean? All you're looking to do is sleep. I was once talking to teenagers. I said, what's the greatest pleasure in the world? They said, sleeping. I said, it can't be. I said, if you have a day off? I said, of course, I sleep the whole day. I said, vacation? He said, what do you mean? Summer vacation? I sleep for 2 months straight. So I said, well, then I bet you can't wait till you're dead. You'll sleep forever. So the kid says, no, I'll never have the pleasure of waking up and going back to bed. Which means if every few years I go, everything's still here? Okay, good. Turn over the pillow, go back to sleep. You know, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? He says, no, I want to live. Understand? So I live that first week of the year a little bit more so I can put that picture up on my wall and say, God, I'm not ready to do this yet, but I'm capable of more than even I realize. I know you realize it, but I have to have that picture on my mantelpiece to know that if I really work at it, I can be capable of much more. Those are our 3 steps. What's the 4th step? He brings a quote from Pirkei Avos. Kaneh lecha chaver. Literally that means acquire yourself a friend, but a kaneh in Hebrew is a reed. You'll have to be old enough to remember this. When I went to school in the 1960s, we already had ballpoint pens. When my mother went to school, they had inkwells on the table. Until the 1960s, that's how everybody wrote in history. You took either a metal-pointed pen, you know, in modern times, or you took a quill, or you took a reed, you dipped it in, and you wrote with it. That's how you wrote. Kaneh lecha chaver, he says, your kaneh, your pen, is your friend. And I can tell you this from personal experience. I've tried it both ways. I sat down for personal reflection, and I thought about, who do I want to be at the end of my life? What am I going to change this year? What one thing am I going to do a little extra during a Seres Tshuva? It didn't anywhere have the effect as when I sat down and I wrote it down. Because when you write it down, it becomes real to you, and you can refer to it, and you can look back at it, and you've got that, it becomes part of reality. You know? You move from the world of thought into the world of speech, into the world of writing. And when it's something that's written down, it takes on a permanence. It's a reality. It's something real. Yeah? Write it down. Sometime in this next week, write down, as descriptive as you can, who do I want to be at the end of my life? What do I want them to say about me at my funeral? I said this once to an audience, and someone said to me, Rabbi, what do you want him to say at your funeral? Look, he's moving! But a person has to sit down and say himself, yeah, who do I want to be at the end of my life? What do I want them to say about me? And let's face it, most of us want to have been remembered as living a different life than we lived. Right? Nobody really... A mafia hitman. Nobody doesn't want anyone at their funeral to go, Vinny, he was a great killer. He killed lots of people. And always in creative ways. One time he had this guy. They're not going to say that. They'll say, Vinny was a good friend. Vinny was loyal. Vinny was good to his mother. You know what I mean? You want him to be able to remember that I did great things. Write it down as descriptive as you can. Don't worry how you'll get there. And then write down the one easy thing for this coming year. And then one thing, easy, not easy, yeah, easy for Aseres Metshuva. And you write this down, and there is a formula for us to be able to make this year not a year, but the year. We can finally finish Groundhog's Day and move on to February 3rd. We can finally begin the journey of making our life the life that we want. Thank you very much.